So we come to the part of the show that you're always waiting for, which is the expert interview part. And I get the pleasure of doing this. And furthermore, this week, my guest is the ubiquitous, the eponymous ZOE LACEY COOPER. ZOE, welcome to the Accounting Influencers podcast.
Wow, that whole introduction took up the whole podcast, Martin, but I love it, loving it.
I like to give our producers an easy job as far as possible. So
fantastic.
So for this, we need to recalibrate, okay? Because a lot of our listeners are in 136 different countries, but our top 5 are in the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, and India. Those are our top 5 things. So for the vast majority of our listeners, they will know you as being the queen of Accountex, but you're not the queen of Accountex anymore. So my first question to you is, who are you now and what do you do now?
So basically, most that know me is I'm the girl in the blue blazer, or the woman in the blue blazer. And about 5 months ago, I hung that blue blazer up. So I've been, well, this is going to be a long story. This is going to be a long answer, Martin. You sitting comfortably?
I will sit back. Off you go.
Thank you. I've been in the events and exhibition industry for 21 years. I've worked in that time in various different industry sectors, ranging from pharmaceuticals, the baby show, the ideal home show, skiing, snowboarding, organic food, and most recently, accounting. And the strangest thing happened. I work in some very, very, very glamorous industry sectors, and Accountex fell on my desk, and I had the opportunity to work on the newly acquired Accountex, working with the UK accounting community, they told me. And I said, well, I currently do a really sexy show in Sweden called the Organic Food Fair, where I deal with very beautiful people and very sexy products. And I'm like, no, have a look at the figures and have a look at the industry and look at the potential. So cut a long story short, I came back off maternity leave very early to take on this show called Accountex, whatever Accountex was. Little did I know the impact that it would have on my life. I'm used to working on a show, Martin, for 2-3 years, and then I move on.
Right.
That's the way I do. I'm a bit of a launcher. I like to work on things, establish the industry, do what I can, and I move on. But I couldn't let go of accounting. These little opportunities kept coming my way. I was like, oh, not quite ready to let go yet. And no, I think there's a bit more to do on Accountex, I think. And the odd thing is that I think I found my heart and my place, which was the accounting profession.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that response a lot. It is a strange one, isn't it? You know, I've worked, like I said, in 10 different vertical sectors, but there's just something about this one. It's being in Accountex, you have a bit of an outsider's perspective. So you deal with the tech, you deal with the influencers, the gurus, those that are on their journey. But the biggest thing that I found from it is always that you make friends for life. It's a real close-knit community.
It is.
No real competitors. You collaborate together and you support each other. And that natural support I got, you know, when I first took over, the natural hand to help me and support me genuinely.
Yes.
Was just exceptional, and that never left me. So obviously, as you know, COVID happened, events industry took a little tumble, and I was given the opportunity to go client side, and I got a call from Des O'Neill from OmniPro, as some of you may know, to give me the opportunity to utilize my experience and my knowledge and contacts in the UK accounting ecosystem and take another company to the new level. And so this is where I am 5 months down the line, Martin. I've left my 21 years of exhibition experience behind me, and I've gone client side, and I am now fully fledged in the accounting ecosystem.
How dare you? Okay, so there's a question there then, isn't there? Because if it is the case that you were used to launching and moving on, and then you find that in accounting, the community, and I assume by that you meant a mixture of practitioners, vendors, coaches, everybody who is in and around the profession formed that community, then why the change? And why go client side after 21 years of working in events? Why go for that? Is it just COVID, or is there something more to that?
It's a bit of a mix, actually, Martin. I think watching watching the accounting ecosystem as a whole going through COVID, you know, watching the accountants keeping businesses alive, watching those that serve the accountants, you know, the influencers, the supporters, trying to advise these people out of it, but also the vendors, you know, the software, the technology element. The technology element for me is also what I really enjoy. This kind of entrepreneurial spirit that happens particularly in those progressive areas, you know, watching those progressive accountants and their journey and the technology element. I kind of get quite inspired by that. I learn every day. I mean, you guys and girls write a lot of books. You like to write books.
We do.
I have a lovely library of books, but it's because you think differently. You do take your business very seriously, and I've learned a lot from that. So to take on my next part of my role and to still continuously learn from a technology perspective, from an entrepreneurial perspective, even a business perspective, I just get all that from serving the accounting community, and I'm really pleased I have.
Excellent. So for many of our listeners, although you mentioned you got a call from Des at OmniPro, with no disrespect to anybody at all, that might not resonate with the listeners. So what is it that you're doing now?
So I am now managing CPDStore, and for any accountants, particularly in the UK, or for those CPAs out in America, this is your accreditation for you and your profession. So as you know, you need a certain amount of points or hours for you to get signed off by your institute. So CPDStore does what it says on the tin, but our focus is not being a CPD tickie. For those in England, they know that it's very easy accessible, Martin. You get CPD everywhere. It's free. Everyone gets it. America's a bit more harder. You have to pay a little bit more out in America and some other countries. But what we want to do is actually say, well, actually, you know, you're an accountant serving business. You kind of need to know this stuff, kind of need to know what the new VAT mandate is going to be next month, and kind of need to know what tax updates are happening so you can serve your clients better. However, with COVID, everything's gone online, and we are sitting here with hours upon hours of CPD and learning Zoom calls, with accountants just scooping up CPD. So my knowledge with putting together programs with 250 speaker sessions at Accountex, as you know, I've got a really great opportunity to understand the speakers, the way they present, their interaction levels, that kind of thing. I just wanted to put that in a place where people can go, you know what, I've got to actually learn some stuff. I don't just need a CPD tickie. Where would I go for that? Where am I going to actually learn something? Who's going to give me case studies? Where am I going to have a little bit of, a bit of interaction? Just a place where I can learn in a really good environment. And that is simply what we're trying to do, Martin. We're not trying to recreate anything or do anything overly special or different. It's just being a bit mindful on the way the speakers we use and how we teach those subjects, and choose those subjects that accountants need to know about to make themselves, their team, and obviously serve their clients better. So what I'm doing is I'm heading up CPDStore. We also have a branch in Ireland, and so we're launching in the UK at the moment, but we've been currently looking after the Irish accounting community for about, I think, 10 or 15 years now. So we've got the business that's very well established, and then we have this new business using all of our expertise and our technology and event platforms online to launch in the UK.
Fantastic. So it's kind of like the University of Continuing Professional Development.
Oh, I like that.
You can have that for free.
Thanks, Martin.
You're welcome.
I might use that. I'm writing it down.
Now, so while you write that down, this segment, Expert Interview, is done because the guests who appear on it are of my choosing. And you'll know, through having to deal with me, that I have somewhat of a elitist view on what constitutes an expert and what doesn't. And as a result of this, I'm now going to take you back to the Accountex days to ask you the next question, because if there is anybody who's an expert on this subject, it would be you. And so what are your thoughts now on where we go with events? Because we've just, at the time of recording this interview, have had Accountex Summit North, which we've covered in abundance on this show. And there's clearly a novelty factor in returning to face-to-face. Do you think that will be maintained now? Is that the return, or are we going hybrid, or are we going in a different direction? Is virtual events, will they be ignored for a while and suddenly, oh, remember virtual events? Let's get back to those. They were fun. what is the future of events as you see it now?
Okay, so this is something of my area of expertise, because when I was in the exhibition industry, this is where I would be on stage talking about this thing right now. I did a lot of benchmarking surveys and research, and this is what I would normally present on in my previous life. Now 12 years ago, I actually used to run virtual events. 12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Oh, it was the new best thing. This is going to be great. This is going to take over the world. This is the vision of events. And guess what happened, Martin? Guess what happened?
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
And COVID happened and we were like, whoa, yes, virtual events. This is where it's going to happen. This is the time. The moment is now. And do you know what? Exhibition wise, in my opinion, I do not think it is. We work in many industries that have very tangible products, and you can't do it online. You can't have a virtual booth. It just doesn't work. And that is my opinion 12 years ago. It is my opinion now.
Okay.
However, content and learning can be done online if done in the right way. So I think the opportunity for event organizers is the fact that a hybrid model needs to be considered. So Accountex London, for example, used to have 10,000 visitors across 2 days.
Yep.
And those visitors were people that would want to come out, meet people, network and learn. But there was also, I mean, what's the number, Martin? That's a whole nother podcast. But, the number of accountancies in the UK is pretty high. Yes. 10,000 is a very small amount. So moving into a hybrid business model not only opens up your reach in terms of the people you're, getting in contact, but it means you're reaching people who don't go to face-to-face events. They like to stay at home and learn in their office or anywhere else. So the hybrid model is certainly the way to go. I think there's even people saying, why don't we film the live event and then put it virtually and then do it all that way, and AV costs an absolute fortune, but maybe that is the way it goes going forward. My opportunity, I think, particularly for accounting, is there is a place for both, particularly learning online, but the interaction, the networking, and this whole tangible, with the software that's out there, I think that has to just be face to face. I think you just can't do that online. It's very hard. And that is my views.
Right, because it's funny that you mentioned 12 years ago, because 6 years ago, nearly 7 years ago, I was delivering a conference in Philadelphia called the Winning Clients Conference, which is at the Franklin Institute. So from a venue point of view, it really was top end. Corinthian pillars outside and the steps that look like the Rocky steps, And I thought I should really come onto the Rocky music, sort of thing. And
I thought you were going to go into song then.
I was going to go into full thing there, yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
But the organizing body, which was the Pennsylvania Institute of Certified Public Accountants, were very aware that although they were only serving Pennsylvania, the attitudes, buying behaviors, and sheer geography of their catchment area and demographic was not all going to descend upon the Franklin Institute. And so what happened was that, and this is 6 years ago, they sold in-person tickets and online tickets. And so I did the conference to the room and to the 120 odd who were in the room, but at the same time was breaking off every 20, 30 minutes or so and playing directly to camera, because there's another 70 odd watching me on the camera, and they sold, as I recall, I think they sold those tickets about half the price as the in-person ones, and the in-person one, and they didn't get the various things that we handed out at that point. But nevertheless, they were already aware that there were two separate audiences to be attracted who would consume the same piece of content in two very different ways, according to geography or whether they wanted to actually mingle with people. And that's going back that long, So I think your take on hybrid is very likely to be the accurate one, because
it has to be. It has to be. And the events industry, I would not say, are very progressive in terms of technology. And I struggled. I was working in the events industry, serving the accountancy profession, and 50% of my time was blown away with the amount of over-the-top technology you had access to. Yes. And then my day job is kind of like, oh, we're not even in the cloud yet. We obviously are now, and things have progressed on a lot over the last couple of years. But, again, accounting, believe it or not, if they agree to it or not, are a hell of a lot ahead of other industry sectors than they probably think they are. And that's sometimes one point I try to make. I'm not brushing all accountants with the same brush, but in general, I think the accounting profession seemed to be a hell of a lot more progressive than other vertical sectors, I would say.
Which I'm sure the listeners will be delighted and somewhat surprised to hear as well, because they are often painted with a rather grey hue.
They are.
So I think they'd enjoy that. So we're going to wrap up now, Zoe, and we're going to go away from the business side of things, as I do in all these expert interviews, because there's a number of different questions that I throw at my guests, things like, do you have a personal philosophy for success? Or what is your passion? Or things like that. So I'm going to take a stab in the dark and suggest that maybe at the heart of Zoe, CPD isn't the ultimate passion, and that she enjoys doing. So when we're talking not about CPD or CPDStore or accounting or anything like that, when we're talking about Zoe, what are her passions? What are her motivators? What does she enjoy?
Well, I am a mother of two very young children. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, and obviously my family are very important to me. But my other passion is actually kind of linked to what I do, and that's kind of helping people. Okay. I get a lot of pleasure and satisfaction out of helping people. Like Martin, you're the same. Like you and I, we have access to some exceptional speakers. We have access to the people that run these large events, that have the platforms, and if you can just help one single person, give them a stage, give them a voice, give them an opportunity by a single introduction, that's my passion. And the reason why I'm mentioning it now is I did it a lot in Accountex a few days ago. There was 3 people I met, and I made the effort to do something with them. I either introduced them to someone, or I linked them in with someone, or because I know that one single tiny little opportunity could be what will make their future. And actually trying to help people's future by doing little tiny things like that, I think goes a really long way. Like even in my local community, if I see something and they go, oh, I need help with X, Y, and Z, I'll just literally just do all I can to, is there anyone I know who can help them? Is there something that would help them in the long term? And how could this maybe change their life just by me spending 5 minutes just thinking about it? So that's my main passion, I would say.
Would you regard yourself as a connector?
Yes, I like being, that's a great word. I love connecting people.
Excellent.
Absolutely,
there we go.
Love connecting people in work life and my social life as well is all very important.
So hear that, guys. If you have a social life as well, if you do happen to have a social life and you need a match made, Zoe's your lady. So
well, I have 2 children, so my social life's a little limited at the moment, but
So we are a little bit surprised, and perhaps we shouldn't be, by the reach of the podcast currently and who is taking action on behalf as a result of listening to this. So for those who are thinking, right, well, I was just thinking that CPD was according to whatever email came through to me. For those who are thinking now, all right, maybe perhaps I want to take a bit more of a proactive approach to actually check out CPDStore, what is their first step to contact CPDStore or you and find out exactly what you're doing right now?
Great question, Martin, and thank you for the opportunity. So best thing to do for the UK listeners is www.cpdstore.co.uk. We also have .com as well for our international clients, all those in Ireland. And if you go on there, at the moment we're offering some free CPD webinars, but we also got our CPD festival coming up at the end of the year, which is a lovely combination of all the core technical training and updates that you need. And we've brought in some really good, well-known teachers, I'll call them. I don't want to call them speakers, teachers, who can teach what you actually need to know and not get that CPD ticky off at the end of the year.
Excellent. So there you go, guys. The expert interview with Zoe was brought to you today by CPD, Community and Connection. Zoe, thank you very much for being my guest. And guys, I will see you all on the next episode.
You've been watching or listening to the Accounting Influencers podcast featuring hosts Rob Brown and Martin Bissett with key interviews, what's working in the accounting profession, and news from the accounting and fintech world that helps you do your jobs better. We go out to 144 countries, over 20,000 unique listeners with 100,000 downloads, and it is accredited for continued professional education and development. Thank you for tuning in.